Hare Krishna. Question from Panduranga Charan Prabhu. Should devotees strive to cultivate the qualities of the mode of goodness? They seem to be very conducive to the practice of spiritual life. At the same time, it is also said that devotees should focus on just practicing bhakti, and by the practice of bhakti, all qualities will develop. So, what should be the attitude of devotees towards the cultivation of such sattvic qualities? Answer: there are different contexts in which certain specific statements are made. So, if we look at the oft quoted verse in the Bhagavatam, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavate Kinchana, so there, by which that the process that by Akinchana Bhakti all qualities will develop. So the point of that verse is not to say that. The point of that verse, if you look at the whole context, is to compare the process of bhakti with other processes and to inspire single-minded focus in the sadhaka's mind on the process of bhakti. So the way to deal with this situation is to recognize that we in and of ourselves are we at our stage are conditioned, and Krishna, when he's talking, when the Bhagavad Shastra talks about the qualities that develop by bhakti, it's often talking about parabhakti, of pure devotion. This verse in fact makes it explicit by saying Bhagavati Bhakti Akinchan. So one who is practicing bhakti without any possessive mentality at all, pure devotion. So pure devotion does manifest glorious qualities, but we have to be honest and admit that we are not at the level of practicing pure devotion. Even though we may be aspiring for pure devotion, but our practice definitely falls short of pure devotion right now. And now if we look at the Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, Krishna does talk about many qualities which seem to be, if we look at it from a material vision, they seem to be largely qualities that are material, in the sense that they are, Krishna says that Tulyastindasu mauni santushto yena kenachit aniketah sthirmatir bhaktiman me priyonara. He says that a person, devotee, should be satisfied with whatever one gets, should not be attached to a home, should be equipoised amidst happiness and distress. So here Krishna is not talking about engagement in positive devotional activities. This devotee should delight in Shravana, devotee should delight in Kirtana, one who delights in going to Tirtha Yatra, such a person is my devotee. One who delights in being deity worship, such a person is my devotee. Such a devotee is dear to me. Krishna is not talking about that alone over here. Now why? Because that is implied. How would somebody be a devotee if one does not do devotional activities? Devotion is not just an emotion of the heart, because every emotion is naturally and necessarily expressed through corresponding actions. So that is implied. But Krishna, in the context of the Gita, is telling that a devotee is characterized not just by transcendence towards, not just by the presence of transcendental emotions, but also by regulation, moderation in responding to worldly stimulations. So now this moderation in responding to worldly stimulations is primarily a quality in the mode of, is characteristic of the mode of goodness. So in that sense, if we look at the list of qualities that Krishna describes in the 12th chapter, and then we look at the list of qualities of goodness, whether we look at the 14th chapter, 3 modes of material nature, or we look at 16th chapter, the qualities of the godly nature, we'll see that there is a remarkable similarity in those qualities. So now if we see the thrust of the Gita's 12th chapter, what it says is, a devotee who has these qualities is dear to me. That means what Krishna implies is that there can be people who are devotees or who claim to be devotees who may not have these qualities. How is that possible? That means that these people are going through the external actions of devotion. That means they may be chanting, they may be hearing, they may be doing the activities that are associated with devotional service, but they may not have developed the qualities. So Krishna says, those devotees who have these qualities are dear to me. That means Krishna is recommending, in fact enjoining to us, that we should strive to develop these qualities. So the important point is, rather than worrying too much, should I try to develop more of goodness qualities or should I just focus on the practicing of bhakti? We need to recognize that our whole practice of bhakti needs to be governed largely by these two principles: anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjana. So what is favorable I accept, what is unfavorable I reject. So now we do know that the practice of that, at least for a substantial number of things related with our bhakti, mode of goodness qualities are very helpful in dealing with new people. A person who's in goodness is much more appealing, much more dignified, much more faith boosting than a person who doesn't have those qualities and appears very passionate or argumentative or something like that. And similarly, in our relationship with other devotees, in our relationship with our relatives who may not be devotees, so the mode of goodness behavior is extremely desirable for both keeping our emotions under control and for also helping others get a favorable impression of Krishna and Krishna Bhakti. So to the extent we see that the cultivation of qualities and goodness is helping us, to that extent we can and we should cultivate those qualities and goodness. At the same time, if at certain times we need to sacrifice goodness for the sake of transcendence, we should be ready to do that. So that is exemplified, say, in Maharaj Yudhishthir, always being truthful, but when required, being willing to sacrifice truthfulness for the sake of Krishna. When Krishna told Yudhishthir that, in order to bring down Drona, we have to tell him that Ashwatthama is dead. Yudhishthir, although he was initially a little reluctant, he did agree to that. So the point is that as devotees, we shouldn't become attached to goodness and focus so much energy on cultivating goodness that we consider that if some devotee is not in goodness, or if some devotional activity doesn't seem to be in goodness, then it's not worth doing, and the devotee is not really a substantial devotee. We shouldn't think like that. Bhakti is transcendental, and sometimes there can be very advanced devotees also who, like we see Gadadhar Pandit mistaking Pundrik Vidyadhari's behavior, which seemed to be passionate, which seemed to be like that of attached materialist, but it was transcendental. But he was in transcendental consciousness. So similarly, we shouldn't become judgmental about those who do not have goodness, do not seem to be manifesting qualities of goodness. But for our practice of bhakti, goodness is definitely anukul, and to the extent that it is anukul, we should definitely cultivate goodness, but keeping in mind that our goal is not goodness, our goal is Krishna and Krishna bhakti, and goodness is simply a favorable thing for our practice and our sharing of bhakti. And when for the sake of bhakti we need to subordinate goodness and go beyond goodness, we should be ready to do that also. Thank you. Hare Krishna.